Perfect. Run! It's a stampede! DJ Ham the Stamp. DJ Ham the Stamp.
Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, hit that like button right now if you can. That helps the channel the most. DJ Ham the Stampede, we in the building. Wow. This has been a show I've been waiting on personally. Shout out to Dr. G for putting this entire idea into my orbit. You know what I mean? Dr. G and I had this conversation. However, I'm not versed enough. I'm a novice. I'm a layman when it comes to school and academia in terms of being a teacher and an orator to the kids, you know, building these great minds around us. You know what I mean? So it's only right we assemble people who are invested in it, or at the very least have a mind to do so, you know? I love being a football coach, but how I talk to them kids, I get fired being a teacher. That's for sure. Hit the like button, hit the like button, hit the like button, man. Will Zen was popping. Oh, shit.
What up, buzzing, bird flipping dozen. Holla at your boy, you thought your cousin was.
Salute to Will Zen for becoming a member. My brother, I appreciate you. Hope all is well. Welcome to the family. Onika Sue was good.
Perfect.
With the renewal. Salute. Son Kiss with the $5 says Shalom.
Brother.
Salute. Hope all is well. Let me see in the chat real quick. You see we got it popping kind of early. This time it was absolutely my fault. With my wife being on the panel, we had to make sure everything was copacetic, including her setup, including the kids. You know what I mean? Salute. Insane in the building. Mr. Awesome in the building. Mr. Williams in the building. Chris C in the building. Salute. Angel was popping. Oh, Ken was good, my brother. Good to see you 2 days in a row. Hope all is well. Keeps 100. I agree with you. We got Sun Kiss in here. Shalom. TC the Don. What's going on, my brother? Saab was popping. Mahogany was popping. Impress putting in work. That's always a pleasure. Quincy Ferguson was goody, my brother. Thank you for your contributions in the Discord. As of late, you've been cooking. Orchid was good from Australia. Bino in the building. What up, my brother? DC was shaking. Hope all is well. Hope everything's everything. Salute to the 40 people already in the building. Please make sure you hit the like button. The like need to match the viewership, man. Call me Queen T was popping, man. Like, share, subscribe. Tell a friend and tell a friend. Hit that like button right now if you can. That helps the channel the most.
Direction, choose your own path.
Don't just wear anything. Wear garments that mean something. We got hats. We got sweatshirts. We got jackets. We even got hoodies. Let's not forget our classic tees. Direction, choose your own path.
The message is always in the cloth, the colors, the designs, the fit. Basically, pay attention, stay alert, and remember, choose your own path.
What up, buzzing, bird flipping dozen. Holla at your boy, you thought your cousin was.
Zeke, salute my brother Shalom Ak with a gifted 5 memberships, man. Whoever got blessed with one, please maintain it and say thank you.
Perfect.
All right. Tiff, what's goody?
Oh, hey, Dr. G. Hi, Dr. Watson. Hi, Ashley. Hey, Mr. Aaron. What up?
Hey, Tiff.
Good evening.
Excuse me. Good evening. How are we doing? Is everything okay? Let me not speak my broken English for the AA conversation.
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking.
No, I'm coming in full Ebonics. What's good in this piece?
To what piece are you referring to?
80s.
Wow.
Jeez Louise. Miss Parker, John, what's good? John, salute, man. Hit the like button, hit the like button, man. All right. Oh, okay. Hold on. We got a battle going on. Okay.
What up, buzzing? Dozen. Holla at your boy, you thought your cousin was.
Dre, what's going on, my youth? Hold on, I got it.
Brother.
Wrong one. Dre, what's goody with the 5 gifted memberships, man? Whoever got blessed with one, please maintain it and say thank you, man. So to everybody in the building, man. I know everybody just piling in, you know what I mean? This was a stream that I actually had queued up, but you know, with the everything that happened last Wednesday, I think we made a smart decision to kind of postpone it, you know. So I appreciate Ash, she was ready to rock, Dr. G was ready to rock, Dr. Watson, Mrs. Williams, Big Aaron. We had a special guest lined up, but the special guest got a special day today, you know what I mean? But I think that we still got so much substance here to have this conversation. So, once again, just to clarify for everybody joining in the live, right? Homeboy, what up? JT, what up? You know, Dr. G and I were having a conversation just about what, you know what? Dr. G, you do the honor. What's good?
Wow. I'd be happy to do the honors. So we were having a conversation in Discord, and how it all started was someone referred to Ebonics, which I contend is African American vernacular, right? One and the same, but someone referred to it as slang, and my heart dropped to think that we are still having this debate about how we as a community, Black people, use English, and you know, limiting it to being slang as a language. And so we just started kind of talking it through. And I think, Hamp, you came in because your concern, you know, if I remember correctly, was if everybody is speaking in this African American vernacular, Ebonics, why is it that, or how can we expect our children to be successful in school? And so that's how we got the conversation to where we're having the conversation tonight. So I think that's pretty much it.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think it was edifying, you know, and I think in the conversation in which we were having in the Discord was pretty spirited too, but with positive intent, right? Because the focus was on the kids and our people and our future and our culture. And if we want to survive in this country, you know, how do we get ahead? How do we get successful? And so that's where the rubber met the road, in which case we said, okay, let's assemble people who actually invested in the children, have the mind to, and actually do it for a living, you know? So if you had to state your premise on AAVE, Dr. G, what would it be?
So my premise is that African American vernacular is the way that we speak English. And when I say we, I'm talking about Black people. There are other cultures who speak English in a particular way as well. So we have Chicano English, which is the way Hispanic people or Mexican people speak the English. There's Pidgin English, which I think is, don't quote me on this one, but I think this is the way the Native Americans use English. And so we are not the only ones that are using this English in a particular way. This all came about because theorists and different educators were trying to make sense of the difference between how we speak English, and this is in the schools, right? How we speak English and that versus the standard English. And so this conversation has been going on for a very long time. And of course, you have people on both sides of it. My contention is students already know African American vernacular. That's what we speak. That's what they hear most often. So no one has to teach them that. What we have to do as educators, it's teach them how to use standard English in African American vernacular's place when the situation calls for it, right? So we're not going to abandon our home language, our home tongue. We don't need to do that. We simply need to teach the kids how to use the proper language in the proper setting. And that's it.
Okay. Yeah. And so let me just lay this right, because this is where the rubber met the road. Essentially, I was saying that it is important to teach the academic, what would we call it? Academic English or standard English. Mm-hmm. Reinforce it in the homes.
In the home.
And my greatest concern was because we're reading at worse levels than Latinos who also speak a different language in their homes. And yet when we do our testing and scores, Latinos have ranked over Black American children. And so my concern is that if we don't reinforce academic English, then we see our kids kind of being at a deficit. So that's where Dr. G and I were at, right? You know what I mean? So I'm going to step back, right? Because I asked you guys to be here because you guys, I'm more novice or layman in this, you know? And so, Aaron, unless you wanted to say something, Dr. G.
Well, I was just going to say that I don't know the numbers. I won't pretend to know, Latinos or this or that in terms of the numbers, right? Because I haven't even looked it up. But what I will say is that in Mexican homes, there is no emphasis on English language.
Right.
That's not happening in Mexican homes. Mexican homes are trying to preserve their culture, their language. And so kids are learning to speak their home language at home. So I'm not sure how the numbers are panning out that Mexican students are doing that much better linguistically than Black students because they don't even know the language at all. They don't know English most of the time, especially as young children, right? They're learning the English. So how is it that I don't know about that?
Yeah, 100%. I think the retort is it seems simple to me, right? And then we'll pass it along. Is that they don't have the like a broken. So if you have grammatically incorrect being taught in the home, it then is contrary to what they're learning in the school. The fact that Spanish is totally separate from English, there is no confusion. And so that's what I would say. I liken it to like flag football versus real football. If you play flag football forever, once you get on the 11-man football field, you're going to be slightly out of your depth and misunderstand it because it's not one-to-one. But there's so many similarities, people think they know. And so I think that there's a confusion there. That would be just, how I would kind of not even retort, but explain, I guess. So I'm gonna step back. Let me get a big Aaron in, and then we'll go around the room. Man, like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, and tell a friend.
Right. So, I mean, my position on it really is that it's something that would be wonderful to study from an anthropological perspective. I think it should be absolutely offered as an elective in higher education arenas. But as far as teaching it in schools, I do think that not teaching it, but using it as a teaching tool in schools is something that will muddy the water, so to speak, much to what Hamp was saying. I think the goal really should be to learn the pristine example of the language and master it as much as you possibly can, because that's going to be the language that's used in the global arena and then in the national arena. I think the second most spoken language was Mandarin Chinese, and then Spanish, I think. Or no, Hindi and then Spanish are the top four. In those countries, they have dialects of their own language, but then they learn the pristine language as well as these other languages in their most pristine and proper form. I just don't think it has a place in K through 12 next to standard English.
What doesn't have a place?
AAVE. Not in the curriculum.
So I don't know that anybody's advocating for that.
Well, even as a teaching tool, I mean, maybe not as a concentrated class, but even as something to teach in the classroom setting, to say that you would use this language in this setting and then this language in another setting. I think the sole mission should be to just teach when standard English is appropriate and to teach that appropriate standard English and leave it at that. And what you learn at home and on the street, it's up to you to discern, but you didn't learn it here, and it's not to be used. Where you learn the language that's appropriate is where you'll learn where it's probably used.
So, Hemp, I'm gonna put in. Excuse me for interjecting. I'm gonna put some videos in the background.
I want to hear from you guys directly.
Okay, so To hear from me directly, we know that since 1997, the one school district that attempted and has used AAVE to help students has been in California, and they've seen a lot of success because it is a primary language. So when we talk about standard English versus AAVE, an example would be when we go to church, we all know "Guide me over, oh great Jehovah," but the way that we say it and the way that it's written, we understand "Guide me over, oh great Jehovah." It doesn't lose any essence if you say it standard or if you say it in AAVE.
Can you use another analogy, because I don't know that song?
You don't know "Guide me over"? "Guide
No.
me over, oh great Jehovah."
No.
Okay. So let me find it. Let's pause that and leave it here. What my concern, especially with the Spanish speakers, are typically, and I'm in Texas, most Spanish speakers do not speak English in their homes. We may need to look at if they're taking ESL and they're having more time learning standard English, that may be why it's being impacted. So if we're saying we need to spend more time learning standard English within the school system, because if you're spending more dedicated time, then they're going to have a different level of mastery. Not that they're doing better because AAVE is dangerous, but because they are getting applied time to master the English language. And we know that ESL is beneficial. If it were not, then they wouldn't have it. So more than anything, if we would go ahead and accept what a lot of linguistics say, braces y'all, that AAVE is indeed a language and we are bilingual, then that would say when we go into standard education, we need to have more dedicated time because now we need to understand mastery. And what they've seen is when the teacher is fluent in AAVE and is able to change the conjunctions, as in we going to the store or fixing to, converse to I'm getting ready to, the teacher can say fixing to do what converts to, oh, I'm getting ready to. So we need to learn how to marry the cultures and not necessarily dismiss it, because there is a language that we're speaking. We have to honor that and then just say, how do we combat or enhance the students' experience with their native tongue and standardized English?
Yeah, and I think that's the point really quickly, that we simply have to have the kids recognize what's appropriate and when. So we're not teaching African American vernacular. We don't need to do that. The kids are well versed, right? They know that already. But like in the situation or in the example Tiff gave, the teacher would simply ask the student to say that in an academic way. I'm fixing to. What's an academic way to say that? How would you say that if you were speaking to, the mayor or the president, right? We have to put it in the right situation so kids understand the need to culture switch, right? It's perfectly okay to say fixing to. My grandma says that, my mom says that, all my aunts speak that way. So as a teacher, I'm not here to tell you don't speak your home language, but I am here to help you to understand how to transition that when you're speaking in more academic settings. And that's the work essentially.
So I guess my question now would be, who would need to learn to do that? I mean, that seems like something that you would be successful in doing in the home, right? It would be a great tutoring tool if on an individual level, a teacher were able to make these correlations to be able to help them develop an understanding. But like if you spoke to my children, they don't really speak much in the way of AAV. I don't think they would be as proficient in it as other children that may, benefit more from these correlations being made. But so my question is, you said we have to, as if to say acquiesce to the existence of this language. And I'm like, well, who?
Well, but we're not acquiescing. The language is here. We're speaking it. We use it every day. Maybe not you particularly, right? But kids,
right.
Our students are coming to the school using AAVE.
So when
that's how they speak.
but and maybe I think Tiff use these words more frequently, but we have to. Who has to?
So I will say this, if we are going to say that we want to have better for kids and for the community, if we understand that there is a language barrier, who is it better to teach? The teacher that has influence with all of the students, or the parents that we know if parents were up to code, we wouldn't have some of these issues. So if the primary lessons are happening at school, then it behooves us to have a teacher that's well versed that can serve the students. If you are in a demographic that's not necessary and those students don't need that, then there are other focuses. But if there are children that need to understand the conjugation, because typically AAVE is in a lot of past tense, which fix into I'm getting ready, a lot of past tense, or we drop and conjugate certain things, knowing the nuance, and instead of saying, oh, this kid can't read, it's, oh, they're speaking and interpreting a different language. Let me get you to say this in a standard English form. So I, as a teacher, I'm informed. I make the connection, and then I bridge the gap for my students, because I thought that was the benefit of having a public education, right?
So your answer to the question, who has to, is the teachers.
I think all of the teachers, anybody that's in education, especially primary, let's say K through 6.
So
let's answer the question. So we have to make sure we understand kind of who has the floor, right? So that person may ask a question, right? And then they have a response to said question. So at this juncture, what I'm listening to, I think Aaron has the floor. He's asking for clarifying questions. It's clarified. Ask the question again. We can get the direct answer, and then you can respond.
Yeah. So I think she did. The teachers. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I guess the next question is: are you suggesting that we should incorporate into the curriculum required to become an English teacher or a language teacher the use of AAV? And if that's the case, then do we now include patois? Do we now include other, forms of English that you're going to find in these cities and that could be used in kind of a juxtaposing fashion that, Dr. G is suggesting. But I'm just saying, do you understand the precedent that sets? And does that cloud muddy the water away from it already being over? I think.
No, I think it's based on demographics. So based on demographics. So like in Texas, there is a need for ESL because we have a heavy population of Spanish speakers. In Dallas, it's not so much, but if you live in RGV, Rio Grande Valley, you have to be bilingual because a large number of your students are going to be Spanish speakers. So what they've done to accommodate these students is they have teachers that are bilingual because that's the need of the students. If you're going to work in an environment where AAV is the primary language, then yes, that teacher should be proficient in the language that the students are talking.
All right, here's my issue with that. And I'm willing to spread
I think teachers anywhere need to know the culture that they're teaching in. See, that's the primary issue here. We have teachers who are teaching our kids and don't have any idea about the students who sit before them. But right. Go ahead, Aaron.
So to address what Tiff just said, my issue with that is in an environment where you have ESL, you're teaching a second language to a student that already knows a language that eventually is going to be offered later on in the educational process in the curriculum anyway, and it's Spanish. It's also the fourth most commonly spoken language in the world, and it has its own set of laws, syntax, and grammar, and all that sort of thing, and its own dialects, right? So it's hard to juxtapose an ESL environment with an environment where the teacher is just more culturally aware of a language that stems from a language that they're teaching anyway, right? So I'm wondering, to be culturally aware is fine, but to make it a prerequisite to becoming a teacher, I think is, well, no, Tiff said that teachers have to learn.
I didn't say have to. I said
not a requisite.
Then what were you saying then?
I said based on the demographic of the students that you are teaching. And I gave the example that if you are in South Texas, to accommodate those students, most of the teachers speak Spanish. if you speak or if you're servicing a heavily populated environment where AAV is
So
common.
sorry. Let me just interject this. I want to get everybody else in. What he was saying
Mhm.
was it behooves the teacher, right? And then you mentioned a particular area where you said those teachers have to be bilingual. So that's what he's focused on. He's saying they have to be because they're serving a particular demographic. That's what
Correct.
he's addressing. That's all.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Aaron, were you done?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
not
yeah.
done,
No.
but just in
Yeah,
for
yeah,
now?
yeah. No, for sure.
Okay. Dr. Watson was popping.
Hello. Well, I would say I think it's important that everyone is culturally aware. You don't know where you're going to land. And because of that, it does need to be a course because there's plenty of white teachers coming into these areas that have no idea what's going on. And so it is important to be culturally aware to be able to have it. And I think that's what puts us at a disadvantage is because the curriculum is geared toward white people in the middle of anywhere. And so when we're teaching to that, it becomes difficult for our kids to be able to even relate to that in general. So because of you being culturally aware, know what's going on, now we can make sure the curriculum fits so that everyone becomes culturally aware. So I think that's just one point to it. But in general, when it comes to Ebonics and things in standard English, I think the problem is that it's hard to really, when you start to ask about test scores and things of that nature, there's so many different elements that it's hard to really pinpoint to say, you know what, it's because that we're not speaking that standard language at home is the reason why it's contributing to it, because there's so many different factors that go into it that it's hard to just say, well, if we fix that, that will work. I mean, if we fix that, I'm pretty sure we'll still be at the place that we're at because there's so many contributing factors that happens to get us to where we are that we're already below before we even start, which is a whole thing in itself. I do think we are at a disadvantage because our parents are unable to correct and say, hey, this is how we speak. Unlike like Aaron is saying, hey, I speak this way. There's no slang. Your kid is at an advantage. And that typically is not the kids that we're talking about. So explicit instruction is necessary. That you have to say, nope, this is not where we're going to be saying this. We need to make sure we're speaking in proper sentences while we're in this building. But when we're not in this building, you have no control of that. So they understand. They're very smart. We're dealing with smart individuals that they are able to switch it on and switch off and say, oh, in this classroom, because they correct me, oh, I can't say it here. I have to leave that at home. So it is something, unfortunately, that we have to be explicit and be able to teach.
Ash.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I can wholeheartedly speak because I am in the classroom daily in Washington, D.C. And Washington, D.C. has their own language. And being able to meet them where they at, understand where they at, and know that this is how you are speaking outside of the classroom, in your home, with your family members, but being educated and being able to identify it firsthand, it's an advantage to me because I know what they need. I know that I can correct them in the moment. I know that when we're working on writing lessons, when we're working on just simple sentences, I'm teaching them how to code switch from day one. So even though we're code switching on paper. So even though a lot of people, we know how to code switch, as adults and things of that nature, but being able to actually write when our kids struggle with writing anyway, we have to nip it in the bud. Simple sentences is a struggle. So teaching them foundations that they don't have, it's easy to others that are educated, have that background, have that foundation. But when you're getting kids with minimal foundation or thinking, no, this is right, and I like how they speak up for themselves, but being able to correct them and know what they're trying to do, but they haven't got there, building stamina. You have to build the stamina to make sure that they don't just give up, because if they don't get it right then and there, they're like, oh, I'm not doing this. So just changing their mindsets. We've been plugging in since school started growth mindset, speaking positivity into them, because other than that, they don't get it outside of the classroom. So when they're in that space and they feel comfortable, you have to give it their all and they have to speak it. So even a lot of our kids, and I work in special education, so a lot of them do get accommodations. They get the read alouds and they're able to understand, but now we're trying to work on them doing it themselves. So hearing somebody speak fluently without being choppy, like we're just literally building from apples, and we want to, we want to grow that tree. So it's very imperative that the teacher recognizes, because you could tell the difference. They will not receive it from those that can't meet them where they at or don't understand it. So I could say for me, being able to make them feel that I understand and can relate to them, it definitely helps with the foundation to show progress. And it's very vital because it's hard and they want to do it, but they don't know how. So you have to give them that direction. You have to be able to give them that on-demand feedback in the moment. You can't wait, a day later, 2 days later. Give it to them in the moment so that in the next day, do it again. Repetition, 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 so they can understand what needs to be done with standard English versus, what they're used to.
So it sounds to me like these are all plans to dig kids out of a deficit linguistically and get them up on board with standard English, as opposed to starting them with standard English and then vehemently towing the line with standard English. I don't have a problem my thing is this: if you are acutely aware of the vernacular and AAV, and you use that to help individual kids that speak, fine. But my question now is, how do you test for this to be able to determine exactly how much of this to introduce into the curriculum? Is it something that is a tool? Do you shape your toolbox that you use to teach classes around this existing? And if so, to what degree do you apply that? You see what I mean? Like, it sounds great individually, but in a classroom setting, it sounds like it's too much of a deviation away from what needs to be taught, which I think we all agree is standard English, because we're trying to get them to speak standard English in a time that's appropriate for standard English. Because there's no problem with speaking AAV at a time that's appropriate for AAV. We're trying to go the other way.
So how do you, and so you're gonna be teaching grammar anyway. If that's the if you're assigned to teach grammar, English, reading, those sorts of things, you're gonna be teaching that anyway. So it's not a deviation. That's gonna be a part of your curriculum. You're merely listening and hearing how students are using the language and helping them to understand that there is an academic language and then there is a home language. In school, we want you to use the academic language so that when you matriculate out into society, you have a common language that most people speak. While doing that, I'm not going to dismantle, diminish, tear down their home language. That would be an act of proverbial suicide for the teacher. No teacher is going to get anywhere with any child if they are somehow belittling where they come from, whether it be their home, their language, whatever it is. The teacher needs to validate and affirm these children. Ashley said it. We need to honor them, validate them, and affirm who they are as learners. That's like meeting them where they are, right? And then using the school setting to teach grammar and situational appropriateness in terms of academic language. That's the work. Because I'm not going to be able to make parents teach standard English at home. That's not going to happen. And so sure, that's what we want, right? We say parents are responsible. Parents aren't doing that. And so now what? The school has to figure it out. And so I'm proposing that this is the way we do it.
But the question I'm asking is, how do you shape your toolbox to be able to apply this in the classroom? And how do you test to determine what sort of tools to use and how far to go?
So to test it, I'm not sure what you mean, Aaron. Can you be more specific? What are we testing?
Well, to find out exactly how much of AAV is going to be introduced into the course curriculum of language, of the English language.
See, nobody's suggesting that we introduce AAVE into at least I'm not. What I'm saying is you have these pupils who already speak this language. I need them to speak another language. So I'm going to simply teach them the other language. That's what I'm saying.
So how is that different from what we're doing now?
Well, what we're doing now is we don't validate and affirm the kids how they show up. That's one big problem, right?
Can you give me an example of that?
So instead of telling the child that, oh, I understand what you're saying. That was a cool way to say that. How could you say that in academic language? So whatever that is, I don't know. I can't come off the top of my head with a specific example, but the child is using their home language. Oh, cool. Aaron, I like the way you said that, right? That makes sense. How would you say that in academic language? If you were speaking to this person or that person, somebody of affluence or whatever, I might give an example. How would you say that in academic language? And then you have the child say it in academic language and they can do it.
So as a teacher, then my question would be, why do I need to know anything about AAV? Because the same thing, you can use the same tactic if you're speaking to a student who speaks Appalachian English from Pennsylvania, you won't recognize it, but it's still English. You know what I mean? So it's like, if that's the case, all I have to do is just recognize something that's a deviation from standard English and go, oh, that's great. A great way to express yourself. But how would you say it in standard English? And then correct that.
That's what you do when you teach grammar anyway.
That's the question. What are we doing that's different? And if you're just saying validate the kids, then why do you need to know why does a teacher need to know anything about AAV specifically and the syntax of it, the grammar rules and all that, to be able to motivate students?
Aaron, you keep saying that. I never proposed.
The wrong person, the wrong question. Dr. Watson, did you suggest that the teachers become aware of this? I mean, it seems to be that there's a promotional for this awareness among teachers that would require some study.
They should know the culture of the kids they serve. They should know that. So yes, we pop all. Dr. Watson, go ahead, because you said it best. You introduced it. Go ahead.
What I was saying when it comes to cultural awareness, it really has to do with, it's important to know the environment you're in. And I think Mrs. Williams was saying that, hey, if I'm located in Dallas, this is what I should probably know what's going on here. If I'm in DC, it's a different culture that is happening. It's a different language of how people are saying it. So I think you need to be able to be aware of what's happening so that it is a relationship to the students, to the families. You have to build that. No one's learning from you if you don't know what's happening. You don't know what this is happening. They think you're the coolest ones. And for some reason, when you're the cool person, now I'm ready to listen. I'm ready to learn. I'm ready to gather all the information. So it's important for you to know where you are geographically so that you can be able to meet what we keep saying, meet the kids where they're at.
I'm all about circumstantial and situational awareness, but that doesn't have anything to do with AAV. Seeing how the AAV that's spoken in Dallas is different from that spoken in Atlanta, which is different from that spoken in New York, and that spoken in LA.
Sorry, based on the area.
And
I'm sorry, what did
you asked for an example? So like an example would be, he funny. Academically, what would you say? He is funny. She right here. She is right here. If you hear that as a teacher, then you can acknowledge that a verb is being dropped and how to properly say it. So instead of saying you're speaking,
how you teach grammar,
right? You're speaking broken English versus okay, yes, he funny, but how would we say this is standard English? He is funny, and that's go ahead.
But my argument is that I don't see that being different than what's happening right now. If a teacher encounters a kid that says, so if you're suggesting the teachers are sitting there saying they're listening to kids say things like "he funny" and not making the correction.
Yes.
Well, then if they're making the correction, I mean,
no, they're not. That's the thing. They're not making the correction. They should be. This is what I'm proposing, that they should be.
So we need to pull AAV out of the school. It seems like it got in there.
You keep saying that, Aaron. I don't know.
Well, if they're not correcting it in the classroom, are they correcting it on exams?
They have to. Nobody is taking a test in African American vernacular. It has to be academic. So this is what I'm saying. In the course of teaching regular school, when you teach grammar, that's how you make those corrections.
So you're saying they're deliberately not making the corrections, but then testing on it and then marking the tests incorrect.
Well, we know we have teachers that are not very efficient, right?
So it doesn't seem like there's a cultural awareness is the issue as much as teacher efficiency.
Well, but they lack cultural awareness. That's their inefficiency.
But if what Tiff just outlined doesn't need cultural awareness. You're just saying someone says he funny. I don't need to know that that's an AAVE way of speaking to know that. Okay.
Why wouldn't you though? Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you know that's?
I don't need to know that because what I'm trying to teach has nothing to do with it. It's a deviation from what I'm trying to teach. And what I'm trying to teach is the correct phrase is he is funny.
But again, it's also about making sure that, so you want to teach the standard, right? But it's also about recognizing where the kids are coming from. And what they're speaking, what it means and all of those things. Like the cultural responsiveness and awareness it has depth to it, right?
No.
So and so the language is a part of that.
So, all right, maybe let me give you a bit of perspective, and then I want to see what because Hamp's face looks long, man. You look upset. Let me give you a bit of background about myself. That my mother was a stickler for the English language for me growing up. And that is a result of her grandmother being the same for her, right? So now we're going back to a person that's born in 1900 something. Her father had my great-grandmother's father had a third grade education and was a sharecropper in Arkansas. They moved to Philly and he worked to give her an education. She ended up being a teacher because he wanted her to be able to go out into the world and speak proper English and survive and do well. Right? And she marries an electrician and off to the races they go. His language, the way he spoke at the time is the exact example of what's being spoken today. I'm not saying we jettison ourselves from it, but as far as what we're educating children, I think we're educating them in the wrong direction. There is a way. I mean, it happened. There is a way. It was happening. I don't know why it's not happening now, but the rate of improvement historically has been astronomical without bringing AAV or whatever at the time the example of that would be into the scholastic process. You had to learn standard English, sink or swim, and we did.
Well, I think one big thing that you said is that you had a mom that was a stickler for the English language. We're talking about children that do not have a mom that is a stickler for the English language, which then you became and are an example to your child. We do not have that. What's happening? And so when I'm also thinking of cultural awareness is more of like more curriculum, because what Dr. G is saying, like we need to make sure every teacher knows AAE or whatever? No, we don't. Every teacher does not need to know Ebonics, but it's good to know where you're located in that area to understand what they're bringing in. But I don't think we should specifically be teaching and saying as a class or things of that nature.
So I think you missed in the anecdote. It goes back in my family, the stickler history goes back to a point in time where a man was not a stickler for the language. In fact, he barely had a grasp on it. He just worked really hard to send his daughter to get an education so that she could become a stickler. So it's not, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but sticklers don't just give birth to sticklers, right? There was a change made away from, right, a family history of not knowing the language well at all.
And I think that's the problem itself. We don't have that at all. Like we go to parents that are just trying to make it. They don't really see the importance maybe of the education or unable to pour into their kids as much as they want because they're working multiple jobs. And so with that said, he understood what the benefit was for her to get that, although he didn't have it. And so whatever she was getting, they can be able to pass on. But that's not what's happening here. The kids that are coming in, they don't have anyone that's saying, hey, I mean, they want to. I mean, the parents definitely, this is the best that they have that they're giving you. But they also don't know how to help their child. They don't know. And so they don't know how to change it. And we're pushing it on to the teachers to be able to do it. And that's when I say is like, that's only one piece of the problem, because we keep looking at, well, why were the test scores is this? Why is it this happening? It's just so many different, we talk about the family dynamics itself. It's a problem in itself why we're below.
Validating the language, validating proficiency in a language is working the other way. We're all stuck on it. We can't even teach our own children. It's like, how much more married to this language are we going to be before we realize we can't teach our own children in the household?
You say that as if that's been the past, or if that's the majority of families, they're teaching and not expecting the school to do the teaching.
No, precisely the opposite.
Aaron, I'm confused. I don't really understand what it is that, because you keep landing back at the same point that we're not making. I'm not suggesting that. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was asking HAMP. What am I missing?
We're not suggesting that African American vernacular be taught in schools in any way. We're suggesting that the teachers who land these jobs in these communities need to understand where they are and what their students bring to the table. And then they need to do their job of teaching standard American English.
I'm all about that. Be culturally aware of where you are and teach American English. Or teach standard academic English.
So that students know how to culture switch when they need to. Yes.
Okay, if they see fit for that, but I don't think that's a responsibility of the teacher. The responsibility of the teacher needs to do exactly what you said. Be culturally aware, know thine audience, teach the language. Because if to say know when to culture switch, what if I don't want to culture? You know what I mean? Like, I never wanted to culture switch.
Then you don't want to. Well, it's not culture switching from standard to AAVE. We're teaching the kids to go the other way so that they can go out into the world and speak in a way where they can be recognized, acknowledged, get the job, get the college, get, whatever it is, right? We want them to be able to have that common language so that they can matriculate through society. But they can do that without giving up their home language. They don't have to give up their home language to do that.
So we don't have to tell them they have to give it up or not.
Let me ask a question. So I'm fixing. Do you have to denounce I'm fixing in order for them to learn their proper way to say I'm about to, I'm going to? How do you do you have to speak emphatically against it, saying this is incorrect? This is how you would form that sentence. Do you have to do that in order for the child to learn?
Well,
I don't believe so.
Okay, and I'm seeing an issue. It's at the home, and apparently it's at the schools too. Because what you guys think relatability is you're leading people down a path in which that they're not able to recover from like you think they are. This whole code switching thing, they're not at that point. They don't understand it well. And the reason why we look at the test scores is because we can see the understanding and it's lacking. And I just don't understand what you guys are trying to promote. So I be talking, or what did you say, Tip? He coming, what were the sentences? Don't you have to say that's incorrect? Here's the correct way to say it.
No.
He funny.
You can say he funny. Okay. Yes.
That's wrong.
No.
Well, hold on. All right, I'm talking now, right? I don't want anybody to answer me in on a diatribe. I'm just setting the stage so you guys understand, right? So here's what I'm saying. He be talking, right? He's talking, he is talking. He be talking is incorrect. Isn't that how you would teach that or reinforce it? Or are you saying you justify saying you can speak grammatically incorrect in your house but in front of people, at school, in front of somebody you deem important, you have to speak grammatically correct. Is that how you would how would you do that?
I wouldn't necessarily even address what's being spoken in the house.
Why?
Because I'm hearing the child speak, so I know what's being spoken in the house.
So
The child
no,
is
but you're
speaking,
saying
and
that
that tells me
you're saying that you're letting it live, right? So how does this
no.
conversation go?
So the child say, "I be fixing," or whatever the case is.
No. This is the one I want. I want he be talking. Let's
He be
address that.
talking. He be
Yeah.
talking.
Mhm.
So I would first help the child to understand what the perpetual be is. It implies time, always. So he be talking is essentially saying he's talking all the time, right? So I want the child to understand the grammatical part of it. And
Okay.
then I ask them, how would you say that in academic language? How would you change he be talking
Uh-huh.
into an academic sentence or statement?
So you don't let them know that they said it incorrectly.
They said it incorrectly for the situation that we're in, yes, but
So
it's
you're
not
saying
wrong.
so you're saying grammar, right? If they write
Standard academic grammar, yes.
academic grammar, right? That's
Academic.
accepted overwhelmingly. You wouldn't say to that student that you said that incorrectly. Here's the
I would,
understanding about B. Here's why. Here's like you wouldn't correct it in that way.
I don't need to tell the child that his home language is wrong or incorrect. I don't
And
need to do that.
okay, and you're
All I need
saying
to
that
do is help the child. All I need to do is help the child
yeah.
to know how to say it properly when in that situation.
Okay, so they get to speak grammatically incorrect at home, right? Based on standard English, and then
We'll get
everywhere else,
to
and you're saying that they're supposed to discern when or
get
not to use their home language.
we'll
Home
get to him like that. That's what they're speaking. They're coming to us already with this language.
So why is there no correction as teachers? And this is why, and now
I just gave you the correction.
No, I'm starting to see it more and more, right? Coaches don't actually do that, right? That's why we're more effective. Now I'm understanding it, right? So what
Well,
happens
you thought that
then,
anyway.
well, no, I'm seeing it now, especially, right? Because you give credence to things that don't deserve any credence, right?
What
So when
credence did
kids
I
do,
give?
I'm gonna finish talking and then you can retort. Right? Let's do it like that now.
Okay, all right.
So when I'm coaching a kid, right, in terms of a technique, right, I teach the technique. He don't get to add nuance because his nuance is incorrect, right? It's leading him down a bad path. You understand? When the kids are sagging, not speaking, not saying yes sir, no sir, you correct that so that they don't perpetuate that poor behavior, right? So I don't say you can go sag in front of your mommy. No, you don't sag your pants because that's not what men do. But y'all are giving so much credence to things that have no value and that we expect for the kids to be successful. That doesn't make any sense. And then we start complaining about systemic things. This is a systemic thing that we're addressing, right? Systematically, we didn't have education, but systemically, we are perpetuating this thing that does not help us. And I just don't understand. I digress. Go ahead, Dr. G. Not digress, because I want to stay on the conversation, but I'm going to be quiet.
Well, I think that when you're comparing it to football, I think it's a very simple thing. You either do this correctly or you do it wrong. Like it's
I didn't
like
say
that.
anything about football.
Well, didn't you just give an example of someone sagging their pants or things of that nature? That
football.
was your,
That's not football.
Well, what was your example?
Coaching.
Well, I'm saying, when you're coaching, there's a standard. There's this is right, and it's a black and white situation. And when we're coming into this, it's not black and white.
Why?
It's not a black and white situation when we're dealing with children. And I think that's what it's hard to just be able to take one piece out because we keep talking about test scores.
One point of clarification.
Huh?
One point of clarification. Are you saying that grammar is not black and white?
I'm saying that I think it's more complex than just a black and white thing.
So let me ask you a question. Are you saying that grammar is not black and white?
Okay, grammar itself is black and white, yes. But I think what happens is it's not a simple fix because like I keep saying, okay, everyone comes in speaking proper English. Our test scores still are not going to fly high. That's not happening.
How do you make that statement?
Because there's so many different factors that goes into the reasons why that happens, that they can speak proper English, but maybe they don't have the amount of vocabulary words that are needed. They can say 5 words correctly. They can say, I want to eat. That's proper English. They're coming in with that, but that doesn't mean they have the robust vocabulary that is needed. Or they have,
a fourth grader under, you said speaking proper English, right? Which means the phonetics go with that, right? Because if you have words on a piece of paper, but you say fixing at your house all the time, you don't have the identification tools, right? And I just don't understand how teachers, people who are expert, can't see this for playing for what it is. And when I looked up the thing, 52% of Black children in 4th grade read at a deficient level, while 45% of Hispanics in 4th grade read at a deficient level. And I just can't believe that we continue to say this and we don't have any results to back it up. And we want to continue to talk about nuance as opposed to putting pressure on things that need to be put pressure on, like the parents, like the teachers.
How would you suggest we pressure parents?
Reinforce, right? So the actual homework that goes home, right? And when it doesn't get done and it's not correct, teachers don't call. Teachers don't care. I've heard teachers talk and say as much about they don't care, right? And then y'all complaining about the money that y'all not getting.
Okay, Hamp, hold on. You putting too much. You putting too many layers on it. My question
Dr. Watson
was,
put a bunch of layers on it. Dr. Jean, you didn't say anything. She said something about it's the teachers, and then the mom is working hard, and then the
and
dad
that's what I'm addressing. I'm addressing the.
Hold on, wait, Dr. G, take this walk with me. Dr. Watson said a whole bunch. The mom got 6 jobs. Who the fuck? She don't get tired. I heard that song, right? I know who Kevin Gates is. She can't fool me with that. But she added all this stuff in that we're not talking about.
But we are talking about it. You all want to lay it at the feet of the parents, and nobody is disagreeing with that, right? My question to you is, the parents aren't doing it, so now what?
No, that's not how solutions work, right? See,
Hamp, listen, I'm trying to get you to understand that we still have a job to do.
There's very little I misunderstand.
Well, it's not that you misunderstood it. Maybe it was me, right? But what I'm trying to be clear about,
You said you're trying to get me to understand. That's why I said that.
Oh, okay. My bad. I misspoke. What I'm trying to be clear about is we still have a job to do. The teachers, the kids are coming to us this way. We're not creating this. This is already happening, right? This is what's happening. And educational professionals and theorists have tried to reconcile what's already happening, right? Not that we're creating it. We're trying to create strategies and protocols and ways so that students can get what it is that they need. To simply say it's on the parents, that doesn't give educators anything. And another point that Dr. Watson made was that is so many different layers to this. There is no system in America that has worked out for Black men, Black boys, Black people. Every system in this country is somehow disenfranchising Blackness. Why would we expect anything different from education? Education is the one field that could actually liberate. Why would it not be a part of the system that all these other systems, judicial, medical, you know what I'm saying? Like,
let me get this, Aaron, right? I also want us to be very mindful of what we're saying about our people and our culture, right? They are not adept. They cannot service or help their kids. They can't reinforce standard English and grammar at their houses. So now what, right?
Because I didn't say that. I said it's not happening. I didn't say they couldn't.
Now here's the thing about decorum, right? I'm just telling you, right? This is the second time I called it out. Okay, I'm just saying. But I just want us to hear it. The parents can't do it. The parents can't help us. The parents will not. So now what? Right? That was what was posing me. Aaron, I'm bugging.
I don't know.
I just want us to
realize. I just want us to realize you have opportunity. I just want us to realize what we saying about our people.
I never said couldn't. I never said couldn't.
You said they're not?
I said it's not happening. Whether they can or can't, the end result is it's not happening.
So now what, right?
Right. And so it's on the teachers now to try to make up the difference.
What I'm doing is 260 people here, right? So I love all of y'all, right? I'm talking to y'all. But I also want us to understand what we saying our people are incapable of, or at the very least unwilling to do, right? We don't have the results. They haven't stepped in. So now the teachers got to do all the heavy lifting, right? That just shows what it says about our people. We don't have faith.
We don't have what?
Faith in us being able to help our children.
That's not true. And that's not what I'm articulating anyway. I've never, ever diminished us as a people. I'm simply looking at the facts of the matter. That's it. I'm looking at the raw facts.
I get it.
Sure, perhaps it should happen at home. Absolutely. Parents are responsible for what they create. Their children, their debt, everything that they create, they're responsible for. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. What we have to do, however, is service what shows up. That's what we do as educators. We deal with what shows up.
You correct.
And so whether parents can or absolutely, I'm teaching children how to matriculate into society. They can't do it speaking their home language. So I teach them standard.
So
have you ever?
Good shit, Dr. G. You know what I ain't gonna do for $45,000 is raise your kids. Go ahead, Aaron.
What?
Have you ever tried?
I missed it. It went over my head.
You heard, nah. Them braids is up high enough. It caught right there. Right, got caught on that bun in the back.
I don't know.
I'm trying to be serious. Don't make me like. You know what I mean?
All right.
You know exactly.
It's all good.
For 50 G's, I gotta teach your kid how to wipe his ass. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I got you. No, but Hamp, this is the work. Honestly, it's the work. And that's why people are not beating down the door to go into education. It's a thankless profession.
Somebody else talk,
absolutely. I'd be happy to. Listen, y'all, I've been doing this for more than half of my life. This is my jam. I'm passionate. I'm not even saying I have all the answers. I'm not even saying I have all the answers. I appreciate Ashley and Dr. Watson's perspective, right? As fellow educators. I appreciate parents and what they do to prepare their children for us, because the more parents that get on board with what you're saying, Hamp, makes our job easier, right? So of course I'm a proponent for that. I'm just speaking to what we're actually dealing with rather than what we would like to be.
I got you. Go ahead, Aaron. I done interject, cut you off 3 times. I'm acting like Dr. G and Tiff. My bad.
It's all good. I've had the fortunate opportunity to teach some Japan and Korea English. They had no idea what to teach them English was very simple.
You had to start over. You breaking up. Almost your
cellular device. I've had the opportunity to teach kids in Japan and Korea English, and they knew nothing. So when you go, look, say, konnichiwa, no, hello. And you just keep writing now, understand, oh, and it's really that simple to make the corrections, especially if the teachers are teaching from a foundation starting in pre-K, where kids really are learning English in school. What you do at home is what you do at home, but when you come to school, you come and speak standard. That's what we're here to teach. That's what you're going to learn. And if you have deviation from that, you simply correct back to it. I don't understand why there has to be a cultural awareness on behalf of the teacher to make that correction. I did very little relative cultural knowledge of Koreans and Japanese. I went over to Seoul and Tokyo and taught kids how to count from 1 to 10, say hello, goodbye, good evening, good afternoon, good morning.
Yeah.
You don't, so why do you need it? It's the, well.
I agree with you. I agree. I think that's what happens is when you're able to understand this is how we do it in this classroom versus when we're doing it somewhere else. So I agree with you.
Yeah, if we start pre-K and hold the line, and I think the parents that come to the school, the ones that do care, they will be at the PTA. They will see, and it will help their kid, and that parent help parent other kids because they're going to interact with other kids from that school after hours, right? Birthday parties, kids come over, blah blah blah, and the parents, if they see that kind of effort in school and they take it home because they don't want their kids to lose all, and then come, oh, you speak properly in this house. So can the kids that come in this house with them. And you reverse the process at home. The kid can come home and teach the parents something. Parents are not above learning from children. Mom, it's not he, it's he is. Be, being, been, were different as I were. Well, I don't care. He be tripping. Mom, you're tripping. I'll be tripping
If the child
sometimes
can do
too.
that,
No, you
Aaron,
are.
then the problem is solved. If the child can do what you're suggesting, problem solved.
But the child can do what we're suggesting if the teaching at school is as strict and stringent as possible and as simple as possible. I'm talking about slang. He was talking. He was speaking. Let us converse. Let's have a conversation.
Ash, you there?
Yes, I am.
We really want to figure this out, right? So here's the let's say the things that make sense what you guys presented, right? Understanding the demographic in which you serve, right? Now, I think people run the risk of trying to be too relevant, right? People can come off corny, right? But at the very least, just understanding the baseline, you know? But I think it's very important that teachers are in control and determine and designate what happens in their classroom, right?
Absolutely.
Things that are incorrect need to be corrected, right? And it gives me cause for pause when I hear us saying, giving slight credence to a thing that is incorrect to the majority because they have to exist in this society, right? And when I'm assessing things that we can assess that are on paper, right? Like what Dr. Watson said, the homes are broken, the money is less, and then we look at the test scores. When we're trying to have kids diagnose when and where, we don't have great success rates. And I think that that's the thing that we really have to overcorrect. And I think the teachers are plagued with having to do that. You guys have to be overt in the correction. You have to be absolute because you are the only place in which they're getting it from. And I fear we run the risk of giving things credence that don't need any.
And I would say a lot of it also happens. I know we know a lot of our kids are underperforming by a long shot. But if they don't have the consistency in grade levels, they're just getting pushed to the side. So if you don't have an educator that is wholeheartedly vested in making those corrections, identifying those corrections, and seeing, meeting them where they are, this is why they're getting pushed along. But you have to make sure. So say, I can speak for myself. I have my 8th graders. I've had them since 6th grade. And because I've had them, I can see the consistency in the growth and I can see the achievement. But when I get those incoming 6th graders, I can see where those gaps have started. And now I'm playing catch up because it wasn't done prior to. So trying to get parents involved, I would say wholeheartedly, when they're older, it's like pulling teeth. It's hard for them to even get the buy-in. when the students are at a younger age, parents are more involved. So it's an easier catch and an easier fix rather than when they're in middle school, getting ready to transition to high school, which we're getting them ready for the real world more so. But the foundation, it is it's a lot of gray areas where when they get to the middle school, which is kind of their core more so, we're playing catch up. And that's where if you're not reading on grade level at third grade, the statistics, it's hard to play catch up. So me getting them at sixth grade, that's a 3-year gap. And usually when they get to me, if in sixth grade, if they're still reading at a third grade level, or a fourth grade level. So having that consistency and trying to, I would say, in trying to fill in those gaps of the foundations in standard English when they're actually writing more essays and developing, because at this point they should be composing neat, I would say.
Yeah. It's hard.
It's very hard.
And so, Ash, I keep pointing at the screen, sorry, because I have this Regis College study, right? So it's an accredited university in Massachusetts, right? They're on a Forbes list for top tier schools. And so they did this analysis on fourth graders. To your point, they analyzed the fourth graders. And 52% of our children aren't reading at level, you know? And that's why if the teachers are on that level, that's why I'm contending with giving credence to things that they can't transfer to these essays and to these tests and things of that nature, because them kids can't really tell the difference. For instance, right? Like my kid, I'll be like, "You got a shit?" Say, "Yeah." Dr. Watson be like, "Don't say that," right? Because they'll say it at the wrong time because they don't understand, right? And when does that understanding start? I don't think it starts at fourth grade.
Well, I think that's you just showing them also code switching. They understand it's okay to say it with dad because they say it with dad, but they're like, "Oh, mom's here. I cannot say it with mom."
They don't have reasoning. They just see the bodies. You know what I mean? But what I'm actually articulating is that you say don't because they don't get it. You see, and that's what I'm kind of just pointing out. The kids, this switching thing that we want them to be, they're not achieving it, obviously.
But I think for our kids, as an example, they are achieving it because you tell me all the time, when I'm not around, Nova and whatever, they're saying it when I'm not around. So they say, "Oh, daddy said I can say it because it's fine. But when mommy's around, I can't say it." And that's because we have two people understanding, like, you want them to code switch. And I'm like, "No, I don't want you to even think there's a possibility of saying this in any environment." But for you, you were teaching, okay, it's okay with dad, but it's not okay with mom. That's a code switch in itself.
Dad, mom. Now we're looking at setting, time, place, right? And people need to, right? When you guys have a responsibility to prepare the kids, right? You're doing them a disservice by having this expectation and they have no baseline. There is nothing coming from these homes to Dr. G, adjacent to Dr. G's point. Y'all are doing all the work.
I agree. I think there should be a parenting class because I think from beginning, because they're not knowing, they don't know. We're talking about statistics and things of that nature. They say it's like 1 million word gap that's out there and things of that nature. From the minute the kids start school, the Black kids are at a deficit than the white counterparts. And that has to do with a vocabulary exposure. I remember one time we were taking this kid to bowling, and he sat there stunned because he hasn't experienced anything. Like, they just don't have the funds to be able to experience anything. So we were on a mission to take them on field trips once a month so they can have this experience. I mean, our curriculum is the grocery store in preschool so that they can gain the vocabulary of the grocery store because people aren't taking them anywhere. They're unable to do anything besides TV. And so because of that, we are now at a deficit because I guess maybe we're working. I'm not sure what the household actually looks like, but we're not communicating with the kids. We're not reading to our kids. We're not exposing the kids. So before they even reach preschool and kindergarten, we're already at a deficit. And just as a fun fact, from K to 2, you're learning how to read. From 3 to 5, you're reading to learn. So if you do not know how to read by 3rd grade, which you're trying to read to learn, we are already behind.
Thanks.
So we're behind before we start. Then we're trying to read to learn how to read, which we're unable to learn how to read because we don't have the vocabulary and the experiences and things of that nature. And then you're expected to read to learn the rest of the information, but we don't know how to read, then we're unable to learn the rest of information that we're supposed to be learning.
Okay, so thank you for the information. Now that we know that, when they're coming in at a deficit, do you cut them off at the pass, or do you give credence to things that have them at the deficit in the first place?
You understand the deficit, and then that's why we're putting things into place. Like I said, we're going on field trips to expose them. We're trying to read to them.
Not another filibuster. Not another filibuster. What I'm saying is this, right? They come to you at a deficit, right? And you try to close off the coaching thing, right? There are techniques. To be technically sound, you have to do something the exact way, right? And it's not as Neanderthal-esque as y'all may assume regarding football, if we're talking about football. When they come to you with the incorrect learning, knowledge, and understanding, we have to undo that so that they can be successful. Are you guys saying that you guys are unwilling to undo it because you think that's that important, knowing that they're not going to be successful because they're not discerning the difference based on the metrics that we have in front of us?
But HAMP, what that would mean is that
that was a question.
Can I ask another question? So if with flag,
no. I asked the question. I asked the question.
Okay. Well, to answer it,
can you ask? Oh,
well, I guess to answer it, we're not saying we're acknowledging that. I think there's a difference. Some of them come in with nothing. So then if they don't come in with anything, then we can be able to correct, like we can sit here and just teach. But if they're coming in with something, it's a basis. So we know where to build from there. And I think the same thing. What?
Destroy and rebuild. That's the key. And this is why coaches, this is why we have because I'll identify the issue and we undo that issue. Right? Because we know that it doesn't serve them. There's a lot of styles of play that work well in the little league. Right? But when you get to better athletes and you really have to contend, that pity pat shit does not work versus real competition. Now, take that thought and extrapolate it to our competition in the workforce, in college, in education, right? Where we going against people who ain't fighting their language with a different vernacular. And we are losing when we get to real competition.
When it comes to football, though, isn't there a basis?
Sorry, go ahead.
If you knew flag football, or if there's some type of whatever, you're going to say the way you teach someone who's never played football, if I come and do football, the way you're teaching the skills wouldn't be different than someone that actually knows a little bit of football. When you want to build on whatever they already know, you're like, the technique is not great. They need to work on this. You assess where they are, right? You say, and that from there, I'm going to build on what you need to do.
No, this is the point, right? So the movers, the football players, when they come from certain programs, I don't even want them kids because there's so much broken shit they don't learn. When we hire movers, right, man, and they say, I worked at 2 men in the truck, X that shit the fuck out. You can't work for me because you learned the wrong way for too long. Right? But you guys don't have that luxury. We don't have that luxury as coaches. We have to undo. Now, if I get a kid that's strong, has a big heart, hardworking, I'll take him and teach him everything because the attributes is what I'm focused on. God damn.
I think
I'm about to go back to school and be a teacher. Fuck you.
I think you should. Honestly, we could use more black men in the profession.
You know what? Never mind. Now that you, I don't want to do
I mean, we could. That you guys are missing. You're absent in the schools, largely, right? We are too, though. It's 76% white women teaching our kids. So
Yeah,
you know, with those numbers, we're missing too. But Hamp, what you've asserted, I'm with you. I get you, right?
Yeah.
I think that what your assertion doesn't include is when there are other factors. So let's say the child, for instance, the black boy, he's 4th grade.
Yeah.
And he's articulate and he speaks well.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And yet somehow he is not successfully navigating this school thing.
Sure.
Right. Then we might have to start looking at other factors. And I think Dr. Watson said that in her very first statement. There are so many other factors that are playing a part. Right. All the teachers can do is meet the kids where they are. Right. And try to.
Dr. G, one interjection. Right. I agree. There's many factors. Right. We have to solve for them each. And to be honest, slightly individually. So if he speaks, if he has that grammar, I can check that box, right? And now I can dig deeper. Go ahead.
Right, because I'm just trying to point out, like, as an educator, I don't know many, and I've been doing this a long time. I don't know many black boys who are now, of course, men who didn't at some point have to repeat a grade, right? And it typically starts to happen in that middle school kind of area, right? And these children are not necessarily inarticulate, but there's something happening systematically to where they're checking out. And it, again, 4th, 5th, 6th grade is where you see that happening the most.
Oh, I know exactly where it is. And it isn't systematic, it's systemic. It's and this is another reason why I think it's dangerous to put AAV near the schools. Is because the way boys learn, they don't learn like little girls. But the way the school structure is set up, it's set up for the learning style of little girls. I have here, I'm going to share this screen.
I appreciate what you're saying, Aaron. I wasn't finished, but you could go ahead, though.
Oh, my apologies. No, by all means.
Go ahead. You're off to the races. Go ahead.
No, I will remember it. That's not my style. You go ahead.
I'm good. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, then why say anything? Okay, so now I'm close the screen. Yeah, you're gonna have to go ahead. You made the correction. Go ahead and roll with it.
No, I was just saying that there's something larger happening. There are too many of us who are not succeeding, and it's happening around the same time in the same part of schooling and all of that. And I don't think that our conversation about standard versus Ebonics is the real culprit.
And
I don't think that that's it.
I will say there's a book called The Conspiracy to Destroy Little Black Boys, and they talk about 3rd grade is that level of where if they're not meeting the mark, that is where they do the prison to pipeline. That's where they start to decide who's going to succeed and who's not. And as a parent that had a young Black son, I was keenly aware of what was going on. And I will say that the teachers that were, as Dr. Watson said, they were a little bit more culturally informed and not deep, because my son, he went to school in a very small, like, country place. But even the younger teachers that were just aware that they were younger and were dealing with the demographic, they were far easier to partner with than the teachers that thought they had the answer. And I do believe, and I would tell any of his teachers, that we are partners in the relationship. And my son was not able to weaponize our relationship with the teacher. Like, we are co-partners in his education. This is a team effort. I think if we get into that and understand, but also we have to be aware that if that 3rd grade mark is a thing, because a thing is a thing, we can understand what is happening. Now, my son had the benefit of going to the library. And the one thing that Mr. Aaron talked about was pre-K. And pre-K is not something that's available to all children. Pre-K in Texas is a luxury. I was able to put my son through private, but if you don't qualify or the pre-K is filled up, kindergarten is when you have to put your kids in school. So if these children have never been in an educational environment and now they're coming in kindergarten, and my son has had a book since he's been in my belly, and your child has never had a book, the kid coming in at kindergarten is at a disadvantage. If we have to have children that have to matriculate in a public environment, then it behooves us as a society to understand that there are some people that are going to come in at a disadvantage and figure out how we can at least get them up to code, to get them the kids that have the parents that do care.
So
that's easy. Intensify the training in the proper direction. What were you going to say, Hank?
That.
I mean, it's really simple. One thing we got to understand is when these kids, when we determine the literacy rate, right? It's from testing, and it's going to determine these kids' trajectory through school is texting. Am I going out?
A little bit.
All right. Is testing. Testing puts kids under pressure. We have to, the information that goes into their brain has to be pristine and clean as possible. If you're validating one way of speaking and trying to use it to leverage learning another way of speaking, when you're under the gun, especially with be creative. Something if you're gonna answer multiple choice questions, but when you have to form an essay, be creative. You know what I mean? You're going to start to blend under pressure. You're going to start to blend the two things: one that you've learned, and the other one that you taught was valid. When we need to just teach a
they do that anyway.
Ask a question though, because when you're saying testing and specifically being in Texas and understanding standardized testing, and that there are some communities or some subsectors that never do well, and you can have students that are proficient in the skill, but they are horrible testers. That standardized testing does not always equate to a skill set. There are some. I'm asking, and the other
That's
thing
not
is this. No. I'm asking you what kind
one,
of.
you said some, so clarify. What are those areas that do poorly?
What kind of testing?
No, what I'm asking is you said some. You said some regarding the areas. What do you mean by that?
Say again.
You said there's some areas. What are those areas? I don't understand.
Meaning there are in Texas, there's standardized testing, right? It used to be that you had to take a task test to test out. You would have students that had straight A's. They had great grades. They had, I think they call it testing anxiety. So when it came time to do testing, they just, excuse me?
They panic, yeah. And so they do poorly. So is that the majority of those kids that have straight A's?
That's not what I'm saying.
I'm asking this part specifically.
Kind of testing.
But before we move forward, I want to understand this part, right? So when you're saying kids that had straight A's, right? They have test anxiety, which they do poorly. Is that the majority of those kids that have straight A's?
I won't say a majority, but it was enough to where it was an issue that task got pushed out. Like they had to stop doing it because you could not graduate if you didn't pass it.
I understand. Okay, what was your question? I just want to understand that point.
My question for him is like, one, what kind of testing? So are you saying standardized testing, or two, are you doing?
Yes, to and include though. I'm talking about any testing that was used to determine the straight A's. There's just in-class testing. There's quizzes. There are in-class testing that determines these straight A's that kids receive before getting to standardized testing. I'm talking about those tests, quizzes, class, book reports. They're great, contribute their quarterly score. Those things still apply pressure to a student, especially when they're required to be creative using the English language. And there's a greater possibility that they're going to blend that language that's been validated along with the language that's being taught simply because it's been validated. It's tougher to make the distinction. When you're very clear about the distinction when you teach it, then you have a greater chance of it being clear when you test it. This is why the Marines break people down to the bare wood and train you to be a Marine. That way, when you're on the battlefield, your response is closer to being instinctual.
I guess the thing about testing, which I really kind of can't stand about standardized testing, because it also has to do with what is being asked on this test. So if you're reading a passage about what usually they do is from somewhere in the Middle East, we already have the people who are in the Middle East or the white people or whatever in that area. They have an advantage because they understand the background of what they're asking from. If we're asking people who are in the city one question and then we're looking at it and they're like, why are they not doing great? Well, they have no idea what's going on out here. And that's what tends to happen with a lot of our kids because they're looking at this and they have no relationship to it. They have not seen it. And I do think we're missing also, yes, I do agree that we do need to speak proper English at home to better enforce what's happening. If that was possible, not saying that it's not okay to be able to speak our language, but I do think it's important to be able to know the code switching. But there is also another switch that we haven't understood. It's from speaking and also writing. Because the way we speak and how we write are kind of completely different. Where's the comma go? Where does this go? And I think that is a big difference that when we're saying it has to be pristine and it has to be correct, it's like another level that our kids aren't getting for some reason that pushes us back even further.
Yeah, but those are skills we're going to out here in the global market. No matter where you end up, once you become a productive citizen, you're going to be required to communicate both verbally and by writing. So that can absolutely make you more proficient out there. But it still all falls under the premise of standard English.
Yeah. So let me get this straight. They done changed it from Johnny got 5 apples. Now they changed it. The Johnny got 5 corn husks in the middle of Nebraska. This is like what?
I swear, looking at it in 6th grade, I read it and I'm like, they don't know what's going on in this passage because they base the standardized testing on.
But wait, that didn't even address the testing I was talking about that led to the straight A.
Hold on, Aaron, babe. You know I love you first and foremost. Let me just say that before I do. They changed it from Johnny got 5 apples. Are you telling us?
I'm talking about more of
that they changed it. Johnny got 5 tractors in the middle of 6 acres. Are you telling me that's what they changed it to?
It is complex like that. Yes. In 6th
So
grade.
you're saying,
Ashley,
you might have made a mistake, Ash. You might have been nodding your head by accident.
That's
Are
Ashley.
you saying
Ashley,
that
what
they
does it
changed it?
It is
to coal mining questions and not Johnny got 5 apples?
Yes.
I need to see this. I need to see this.
I got you. I will send you.
I need to see this. Also, this one thing I wanted to say too, right? Because y'all bullshit now. Now y'all just having fun with me and Aaron. This what I know. Don't drink another. Don't you? That cup done empty. Don't you? So this thing, right? Here's the thing about when we're talking about like identification, right? Dr. G made a hell of a point about 75% of the teachers are non-black, right? White, mostly white women, right? It's a great thing to have, right? To be able to identify. But when you're passing them on to teachers, the likelihood isn't there because we aren't the demographic that serve the students, right? So when we identify the nuances, I definitely understand it, right? But it's not scalable, which is why I would like us to hearken to the academia standard, because you can teach them that, right? So they can understand it and therefore be successful because you don't know who's next. See, that's scalable, but the nuance thing, which is helpful, isn't scalable because we aren't in those roles. So how do you set that person up for success regardless of who the next teacher is?
I think they just teach grammar. They teach grammar and then they teach how to write, right? From an academic standpoint. Even if the teacher knows nothing about culture, which I think is problematic. But let's say the teacher knows nothing about culture, and the teacher is hearing the student using the language, their home language. They still have a job to do in terms of teaching the standard. So that wouldn't change, even if the child, didn't speak their home language. They still have to teach the standard.
So you're right, Dr. G, but here's the stark difference that leads to confusion, right? Because I see it's a just reason to not say he be talking is incorrect, right? You're going to identify nuance here. Here's what be actually means, and here's how you want to say it in the earth, right? I'm trying to condense it. That other teacher's going to say that's wrong. You see, now that kid done went on that whole year with you, and then he get to that next class. That's wrong. Dr. G done told me for 8 months I was doing all right, and that's where I think they get caught up. You know what I mean?
And right, and so being a professional developer, right? I want to see everybody in the building be on one consistent, right? Every teacher, right? This is how we're going to address this. Particularly if you're not from the community, you need to be, this is what you need to do. Because they're there in the schools, but they are not doing well. They are suffering, okay? And I mean the teachers, because they're like fish out of water. They just don't know enough. So yes, I can see what you're saying, Hamp. I get it. I think in the end, it's going to come down to a belief system, right? And that's legitimate because that's where our values and those things come from. So I'm not going to say that the belief system that the kids should be learning the language in the home is not accurate. I agree with that. I just don't see enough of that happening that would then reduce my responsibility as a classroom teacher or even make it easier. Of course, in my years of teaching, I've run across students who were very well prepared. They spoke well. They were readers. You could tell they had books in their home. They were able to write and articulate, full thoughts, right? It's just not enough of that. I'm not seeing enough of that. And so teachers have to have an alternative if, in fact, we're not going to start losing more and more of our kids. I propose the alternative be that we educate these people who don't know anything about our culture, right? How to teach students who are, coming from these various communities. That's my proposal, and that's what I do every day.
Here's what I want to, right? Just in terms of understanding it, right? Saying that the households have a lot of issues beyond what we probably even know, right? Things we know and the things we don't know, right? The kids are being underserved at their household. Is that fair?
A lot of them are, yes. Many.
I say most.
Most, I don't know. Most, you want to say most? I don't know. Enough for sure.
Well, Dr. G, I'm trying to give what y'all saying credence, so I have to say most.
Okay. All right. Very well. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. So what Dr. G is saying, what is more likely to be corrected? If you can get in front of teachers to understand nuance from vernaculars that come from homes, right? They may be able to then appeal to the students more quickly, right? If we made what Dr. G is saying like common in terms of teacher, what's that thing we y'all do where y'all don't really do nothing for Thursday and Friday, but the kids got to stay home?
Professional development.
The professional development.
And service day, yeah.
Yeah, that thing, right? Kids be.
Ashley, you hear him saying we don't really do nothing? Can you hear this?
Yeah, all I Uber Eats signs just back and forth to the school. But so Dr. G saying if we teach people the nuances to help them break through to these kids, because the truth is, Dr. G, to your point, right? As coaches, we resonate with the kids, right? And then we start to have them assimilate into how we do things. So we'll meet them here, and then we start to build them up, say, that's wrong. But now they trust us now.
Right. The relationship is there.
So you're saying, hey, let me help you guys identify how these kids converse, right? Once you break through, you become the cool teacher, whatever that is. Now you can start to undo those things that may not be to help them. You know what I mean? Because that's what I'm looking. I know you don't want to undo it, but I'm saying like they'll be able to get through to them so that they will be able to understand what the majority of the United States is going to expect of them. Yeah, so I can.
It really is a. It really is a trade-off, Hamp. Like seriously, for these teachers who are out like the fish out of water, they're looking for something to help them to just get the kids to listen to them, right? You know, just what can I do? And what we tell them is you develop a relationship with them, you know, begin to value who they are, you know, understand who they are, value who they are. And then can you do interactive things in your classroom? I'm talking about like protocols and activities. Does everything have to be sit and get? Can the boys that we know need more movement, kinesthetics, right, to trigger the brain? Can they get the movement within the context of your lesson? Let me show you how to do that, right? Because we can teach math on the go. We don't have to be sitting in our seat. I can teach you through an activity, right? Kids need to practice how to have discourse, discussion, right? So they can't practice that if I'm the teacher in the front and I'm doing all the talking. Can I show you how to get them involved in discussion around your content so that we can validate that need to be sociocentristic or the need to talk? Can I show you how to do that? That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
When I'm working with the teachers, just trying to show them like how to gain that relationship so that then you can teach your content.
Yeah. And to your point, right? Comparatively, right, with the coaching, Dr. G, it's 100% interactive, right? Like literally, they're doing it. You know, even when we do like we do like film study. You know, like there's a thing at the very they see themselves running around and we got the marker and they getting cussed out, and then we do board war. So now you got to write down the play that you messed up on and show us where you would have been. You know, so it's like it's all inclusive. You know, and I wonder, and I think Dr. G and I talked about this before, and I want to get Dr. Watson, Ash, Miss Tiff in, right? We were talking about like the coaches have so much appeal to the kids. You know, the kids will run through a wall for us, right? And we're pseudo teachers, right? I don't want to take away from people who actually work to become a teacher, you know, but like we get these kids to do a whole lot of things. The teachers will call and say, hey, such and such acting up. He don't act up no more once coach show up. You know, right. I wonder if the kind of intertwining with the coaches are coming to practice and understanding why they love and do these things for these coaches so much. You know, I wonder, you know, what you guys think about that?
Him, I'm in here. You know, it's feeding time, so I got to fix my husband's plate, and I'm feeding him late. But I was listening
you got food on the side of your mouth too. Let's be clear.
I have not eaten yet. You know, I'm gonna be chewing in here in a second. However, I was in there thinking, and I'm just like, I really think if we learned how to marry, where you're a coach, Mr. Aaron is a coach, is there something where, like how you talk about 100 men, is there something where we could get a book like Dr. G's book, people commit to it, but then we have Black men read those books so that they get that experience of someone reading aloud, they have someone that's willing to work in partnership. But I believe, excuse me? No, literacy. No, you're already a coach. I'm just saying.
Oh, no, I ain't read no book. Y'all come out there with us. Hey, Tiff, one time I was late to practice. They had a yoga teacher in there, right? So all the boys in there, not
too much of my profession.
Babe, I said, what the fuck y'all doing in there? Oh, Coach Powell got, I said, get the fuck. They like, thank you, Coach. They come running out of the yoga room.
You know what? I'm going to say the next meetup, Dr. Watson, I know you do Pilates, Dr. G, I know you're going to be there. I'm going to teach a lesson for the men, and I promise you, y'all are going to cry when I get done with it.
Well, we do read to the kids, though.
No, not Mr. Aaron. I'm saying in general, we're talking about where there's a deficit, correct? So if there's a deficit,
we read there as well.
Every child doesn't have that. So instead of the kids that have it, we need to understand if we're looking forward and how we move forward, we're on a panel. We have this information. Is there a book where we can say, as Black people, we are going to get Dr. G's book? For Dr. G's book, we're going to have this many men read this book. You're going to get this reinforced for 30 days. This is our book. And then at the end of that 30 days, those that want to come and talk and have a panel for the children so that they have this engagement, that they have men that are reading to them, so that they have a different reinforcement, that as a community, we're building their skills. We're giving them community. We're giving them what they need, regardless of if you're already doing that, then it's only going to be extra for your kids. But if children are in a deficit, it's going to help them come up. The parents that are doing it, great, amazing. How do we help those that don't have it?
We don't want y'all at football practice. You guys do all that.
And I
think
did
it's something that I
He-
kind of get jealous of as a teacher hearing coaches, because what happens is you guys, I'm not saying you guys put in hard work, but you guys already have that commonality there. It's this something fun that they're already interested and they're ready to give you 100% when they hit the field. They probably even more once they get to know you, but we're asking for something when they're sitting down that sometimes they're not good at. They don't want to do these things. They
That's
already
what I
have a
do.
bunch of some of those things, huh?
Well, that's the kind of coaching I do. It's staged.
You breaking up, Aaron. We don't hear you.
Hold, check putting you here now.
Yeah, Aaron, try this, Aaron. Throw your computer against the wall and then bring it back. Maybe you need to get you a Mac. Now, so
Right.
but just on that point, Aaron does that type of teaching though, Dr. Watson. But also, I think you're right.
I'm a pro.
They want to play football, right? And we can take football away from them too, right? Which is another team thing, you know.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
even no matter how hard we make practice, like you've seen in my boys that was up here. I don't know if y'all watched the show, but the boys I coach, they said they hate football practice. Hardest practice they ever had was in high school, but it's still football, right? Like it's still football, you know. The blood, sweat, and tears is always worth it, you know. So I think that's
So-
a fair thing to acknowledge.
Yeah, I mean, but there's people that do it, right? Like, so me and my friends and the youth that we mentor over the years, we would take something that they like let's say dirt bikes are rampant here in Philadelphia. They're all over the place. We would take them to a place where you can actually ride them in a safe manner. It's a sanctioned place where you're supposed to ride. It's legal. And now we're tearing the bikes apart, and I'm teaching them about STEM, engineering, you know what I mean, mechanics, technology, things that they weren't interested in before. They weren't interested in the kind of mathematics necessary to be able to convert, volumetric measurement that's metric to a standard volumetric measurement. You know what I mean? Even though in their lives they know what it is, they don't know that it's 2 pounds, six-tenth of a kilogram is a pound. But they know that through motorcycles, through something that they did.
I think that'll be
Son does.
ideal. We have the biggest budget in the world to be able to do that. And I think that's where it becomes we're limited to in a classroom back in the days that we haven't developed besides giving them computers. Besides giving computers, we have a classroom and we are trying to be as innovative as possible. But you don't see the ability of us being able to say, hey, you like this? Let's go outside and do this with this and do this. And
You missed the point.
we're in a classroom. We're doing this back in the day. Sit down, listen, write this. Like the budget doesn't call for us to bring a motorcycle in to be able to break it down, unfortunately.
You missed the plot. Yeah. You missed the plot, man.
I'll make sure that I articulated it well. I know him.
You broke up too in the midst of it, Aaron. So that messed you.
Yeah.
Aaron, see that's
what I'm saying.
On your phone, maybe because it keeps on skipping out. But that part is it. I heard it, but I want her to hear it or whomever to hear it, so you can get a proper retort if there is one. You know what I'm saying? But there's so much stuff, man, that can be done that's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. But I think that's the assumption, right? Because a penalty. Go ahead, Dr.
Well, no, I was just going to say to you, I actually came in here and wrote down when we had that conversation about the coaches and their ability to impact. I actually wrote that idea down because I think that principals need to start leveraging the people in their building. Your cafe staff, your custodial team, these people are people outside of their job. What did they do? If they had, if they were coaches or played sports or different things like that, I think we could do better by leveraging the people who work in the school to assist in some way, whether it be mentorship or just a check-in buddy or, you know, I need a timeout. Can I go see Mr. Sam down the hall or whatever, you know? Because I think we definitely have to use the village mentality with this, with teaching, for sure.
Yeah. 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 I just want to start another thing. I want y'all to hear what Aaron was saying. You know what I'm saying? But as you know, we look at this thing, right? Ebonics, right? AAE, AAEV, you know? And there was Dr. G, correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't it like doing it a disservice or insulting to say it was slang?
Yes, I believe so. Absolutely.
But isn't it slang?
No. It's just a different way that we speak English. It's not slang. Slang is not a real language. That slang doesn't meet the characteristics of what sentence structure or any of that really is. But AAVE does. Their subject verb agreement is just switched. Kind of like how Hispanics speak English. They switch the subject and the verb.
So but
So
we don't but we don't agree though, right? Not that we don't agree. I'm saying if you from the East Coast, we don't even speak remotely the same as Texas. Right? There's so much verbiage that is entirely different. If we start speaking Ebonics to each other, right, we're not gonna understand.
But I think we do.
Right.
I think we do. Like
unless you're taught, unless you learn it, unless you've learned it, now we can speak.
No, I think
there's commonalities.
I think it's enough commonalities to where I could catch your meaning, you know. And are you talking about this? Because I think as adults, it's going to be different too, right? So when I first moved from the Midwest to the South, I didn't have trouble picking up what, you know, the community language was. I didn't.
I agree. I concede that that's close. But I promise you, and Ash and Shawnice can attest, DC in Baltimore, you will not know what they talking about. I walk in a barbershop, he said, man, kill Mo, my lawyer. I said, not your lawyer, my nigga. That's not like, no, I'm not telling you, because then you're going to act like you know everything. Nope. That, like, yo, you will not understand.
Dr. Watson, please tell your husband to stop abusing me. It's just abuse at this point.
Yeah, yo, and then like there's fighting words that don't, you know what I mean? Like gump, chant, all this stuff in DC.
That's the slang, like, though. That's the slang. What you're saying right there, Ham, that's the slang, though. But when they start putting those words into context, like I'm saying a full thought, slang is various words, but we're talking about a language, communicating an idea or a thought. So when they put that together in a sentence or a statement, it's going to transmute meaning.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't though. Like Mo kill my lawyer is the sentence. That's what I'm saying. Like,
but tell us what it what is that? I'll be honest and tell you if I thought that's what you were saying when you tell me what it means. Tell me what it means, and I'll be honest if I didn't get it right. Because I got a thought in my head, but I want you to edify me. Did I get it right, or what? What does it mean? Mo kill my lawyer. What's being said in that sentence?
Ash around the kids all day. She know.
Mo kill my lawyer. Mo, that's probably a person. Kill my lawyer.
Person, like a guy.
Yeah, Mo is a person. Kill my lawyer would have to do something with legal. So is he coming in? It's like using.
Kill is like no. Kill is.
Is that an action?
Is it a verb?
I'm trying to think how.
Like say it like.
Welcome to DC.
So does it mean that somebody? Oh, go ahead.
Doing
when you come in, like is this you coming in and that's the first thing you're doing as a greeting, or like is this a conversation that's happening?
kill?
No, I'm asking you, like when you walk in, you saying, "Yo, you next, Mo kill my lawyer." Like, say it again. I need the context of how it's what is being when it's being said.
See what I mean?
The context would help a lot. That would help a
We
lot.
gotta explain all this shit, bro.
But tell us what it means. Put us out of our misery at this point. What does it mean?
I thought Ash was helping you. You
I'm-
see, Dr. Watson ain't on mute yet.
I still.
But I mean, if you walking in, Mo kill my lawyer, like what? Okay, Mo is the person. Kill my lawyer would be an action. Like what? You up next, or like have a seat? Because Mo would be maybe you are the person. Kill my lawyer would be it's some type of like I need to know the essence of when it's being said because that
lawyer is doing too much.
Okay.
Maybe I don't.
No,
tell us, Ham.
When I hear kill my lawyer, I would mean like kill my lawyer like he sucks, like he's not a good lawyer. Like yo, this nigga sucks.
Look at Call Me Queen T. She ain't even helping y'all.
Black America, you getting blocked. I'm not even supposed to be in the chat, but you earned your block today, my guy. Block.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm just saying the trend because the slang is probably the most substantive part regionally. That's why I say I would more liken it to slang than a language because the language has more absolutes.
I think I understand what you're saying, but even with the nuance, and I like the way that Dr. G has been saying it as in home language. And I love that she's saying like this is the language that we speak at home. So it's not wrong. It's just not appropriate in this setting. And I think even if we adopted that, like I understand this is your home language, but this is an academic setting. So in an academic setting, this is the expectation. I think a lot of times, and I think Ashley even brought it up in the sense of when children feel like they're already failing, they quit. And once they quit, it's really hard to get that buy back in. So I don't think the desire is not to correct. I think the desire is not to stomp out a young life. So I think how men can correct is tremendously different than how women can correct. And I think we might need to just be honest about the different styles and then talk about what does that look like for us in community in the sense of having partnership of where you do have a lady teacher that's saying like, oh, okay, that's your home language. This is how we do it. And then having a coach HAMP come in and say, yo, we don't do that. You know, nigga, you know how to say it right. X, Y, Z, woo, woo, woo. Both people are important. Both parties are necessary. And we need to really understand how we can work in community to make it work for our children. That's why.
But Tiff, I cut your drift if we agreed, right? In your example, we disagree. And so what's going to happen is that kid is going to disobey you in your classroom.
So if Coach HAMP and I have a relationship and we're partners and you say this is what we're going to do, then what I have to do is come out of ego and say, what did Coach HAMP tell you? And now we're partners. Regardless of how I feel, if you understand that this is the standard and we're in partnership and Coach HAMP has told you the standard, then I don't have to fight that, right? Yeah. So we don't have to be in barriers. We don't have to do that.
Let me read these real quick, y'all. I think we mind through it decently for sure. Frederick with the $5. Pig Latin was spoken in New York a long while back, aka hood language. Deborah with the $5. Thank you, HAMP. Salute. Deborah with the $2. What does this face mean?
Crying.
Damn, she just was happy. J Mill with the $5. So basically, add another level of difficulty to a group that is already having a difficult time to be situationally aware.
That's not what we said. No, that's why we not adding a layer of difficulty. Teachers still have to teach grammar, y'all, and that's where these skills would come in. Period.
Jay Harrison Davis, salute my brother. Salute to Harrison. Harrison came to Atlanta. Did y'all meet Harrison? He was at the live show. OG Sigma, what up, my G? With the $5. HAMP, this is the best show I've seen all year. Salute, good brother. You are spot on everything you're saying. This shit is sad to listen to, ellipsis. Salute to you and your logic. Thank you, my brother. I think this has been an awesome show. Caesar's Palace with the $2. Shout out to the panel for the great back and forth. Agreed. Frederick with the $5. Parents have a major responsibility in teaching their children before outside education. That is not happening. Mrs. Parker was goody with the $5 says, let's not forget our kids are being suspended at a higher rate, which is causing them to fall behind. Melly Mel with the $2. Questions are looking for implied answers. You saying they're like leading questions are loaded? Maybe so. Maybe so. Yeah. I think that the cases were made, right? The points were said, I think proven is based on the crowd, right? You know,
yeah, because even all teachers don't buy in. So yeah, absolutely based on the crowd. Yeah.
I'm still in home language, Dr. G. I'm still in that. I love that so much.
And when you guys are speaking of the nuances, 100%, there's many factors, right? But I think in conversations to get more substance out of them, we have to focus on specific factors one at a time so we can kind of deeply dive into as deep as possible, you know what I mean, within this time frame, but I agree that there's many factors, but this is the one that I wanted to assess, and I think we did a pretty decent job at it, What you think, Tiff, man? I don't know. I don't want to belabor it too much, right? Because that's the thing get muddied and convoluted.
I'm so glad that we had this conversation. I think that it was like mindful and kind, and I think everybody heard each other. And like I said, I love the home language. I love how Dr. Watson talked about being culturally aware, and then how Dr. Ashley is bringing that into practice with her students. I think everybody had very valid points, even to the point of where you and Mr. Aaron talked about there are some things that are just no nonsense, and we're not going to tolerate that. I think that when we talk about kids, I'm a tribe type person, and I think that when we're communal and tribal, then our babies benefit the most. And at some point, someone's going to say something that resonates with them, and I think that this is the way that we really need to go forward into correcting some of the areas of opportunity that we have, is specifically with the babies. So I think it was a dope show. I was very glad to be a part of it. I think it was amazing.
Indeed.
And Dr. Watson, tell your husband stop beating me up. I really be like, Ashley, you saw him beat me up. I saw you like rear back. Okay, it wasn't just me, right? Okay, Dr. Watson, Dr. G. Oh my God.
You're a victim.
Dr. Watson, what's popping?
Having this conversation makes me think about actually when I was doing my dissertation, and I actually interviewed one of your friends who's now a principal, and he mentioned how he actually had to have like explicit like conversations about the information of like code switching, cultural switching. Oh, how are we speaking here? How are we saying it here? It had to be like drilled into them how it happened. I think this is such an important conversation to have on such a bigger platform, because us educators, we're always talking about it because we're engrossed in it, especially us women of color trying to, not just women, but people of color, we're always trying to close this gap. I would love for it to be able to, and I think it's great having an outside perspective on how we can continue to close the gap. And I think this is only a sector. So I would love for us to be able to continue the conversation of having different ideas outside of the educational sector of how we can continue to find solutions and making sure that we can close the gap. If it's partnering with football coaches or doing whatever, because this is something that is plaguing our people and our babies specifically, and how can we continue to make sure that our babies are succeeding and not falling into this prison pipeline by getting everyone involved in talking about different situations or solutions that maybe we haven't thought about. So great.
Indeed. Ash, what up?
Yes, thank you so much for inviting me on this platform. This is my first time ever doing it. So just being involved in, sometimes these are tough conversations to have. And it just makes me aware that even like going in tomorrow, I want to continue this conversation with my colleagues just to see, like, do you know what we talked about last night? Just to see where they are, because we have to make sure that we have those standards and those foundations daily. Just being in the fire and knowing what they need is so important. And I just know that having this conversation, even with my students, I'm going to have it. And because I want to hear what they have to say, or do they even understand or know this is a thing? Because they may not know. It may be their norm. And when we're correcting them, they just literally may not have any insight of the difference. Even though, I do deal with middle school kids, they just may not know. So just having those conversations, being real with them and having them discuss it, because if we discuss it, hopefully they can bring it to their homes, and then that might spark a fire, with their parents, because they may not know. A lot of my parents are young with, so just having that exposure, those conversations, every second, every chance we get, if it's one day a week, I don't care if it's for 5 minutes, but giving them some knowledge that they can actually, and that could be their homework. Like, let's be realistic, because a lot of times they don't have time. So making that, like, that's how I do it. I use things that can, transition and help build even the household. Like, this is your homework. Have this conversation. We talked about how it takes 21 days to build a habit. They literally tell me that they had no idea. So just little conversations, how to relate it to how real world situations is what we're dealing with. So I'm just so thankful that I was able to be a part of this platform today, and I will continue. Please let me know of any more. And because we're always learning. I appreciate it, and I definitely gained some knowledge this evening myself.
Indeed.
Awesome.
Good work, Ash. That was your first time. You did great, man. You up here with several professionals, so
Thank you.
we do this on a daily basis. Aaron,
Perfect. I'm computer shopping or something. 3 laptops. I don't know. Maybe it's bad. Well, it was bad weather. Anyway, I think there's many ways to reach out. Get through to the kids, and I do believe that all of those ways are called. I don't believe that any of them have anything to do with AAV. I don't speak it fluently. There's nothing about to me that speaks to success going forward. It's simply necessary. But I'm not turned away completely. I'm not saying it's something that we should get rid of. Like I said, I think making it an anthropological study is cool. And if you're motivating some child that has a penchant for poetry and rapper, what their dream is, so be it. But if you're going to teach a standard English language, then teach the standard. You can read the kids all forms of culture. HAMP does it with football. Yes, isn't that some shit?
The PC is fluent in AAVE. You may not speak it, but the PC is.
Well, it's killing your point.
PC,
it's probably the worst.
It's a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy, but I don't know. I teach math and STEM through motorsports and those interests in that culture, so it can be done without AAV. But apparently, my computer disagrees. So, if you don't go when you're going to go, when you do go, you'll find you've gone. That's what I say.
Indeed. Dr. G.
Thank you so much, HAMP, for having this conversation and including me. I have to admit I was a bit apprehensive because, you've been holding people. You've been running a tight ship lately. Okay. And I respect it, but I'm like, wait a minute now. This my thing. I'm sensitive about my right? So we're gonna have to be careful here. But no, I think you did a great job holding us to account, but then also recognizing that there are so much gray area that has to be considered when we're having these kind of conversations. I appreciate having the other educators on the panel as well, other experts, so that, I could be edified in my beliefs, right? People who are in the field every day who get it, right? And then I appreciate the parents. Tiff, you are very well versed for whatever reason in this topic. And I don't know you to have an education background in terms of professional, but girl, we're going to have to get you on the parent committee to kind of start talking to the parents about the importance of this, home language and academic, because I think the parents can do it, right? And, Aaron, my brother, I don't know what to say. I know we don't see eye to eye on this topic. And with all due respect, I'm glad that your microphone didn't work some of the time. Okay. With all due respect. With all due respect.
Wow. Put him in the fucking bedroom. Get him out of here. Come on.
No disrespect, my brother, but like we are not coming anywhere near each other on this topic. So yeah, that worked for me.
Yo, man. Listen, I think it's uberly interesting, right? And I understand the want, need, and desire, especially when you look at the landscape of the country too, right? Where you see several things being either kind of removed or mitigated or watered down, right? So there's several things we want to grasp onto, and I 100% understand it. I just want those things to be the right things, I just want us to be taken more seriously as a people. And my fear is that we always joking, and so what is looked at as a joke is very subjective. And I fear that the things that we don't think is a joke, everybody else does. And then so now what's the perception? Because the kids gonna have to live through this, and we ain't gonna be here forever with them, So it just interests me, and I really appreciate the opportunity to even put this on, because it's difficult. You know what I'm saying? Like it ain't a laughing matter, So my show for Friday, I got a lot of things that we need to address and shit that we don't take seriously. But you guys did an awesome job, man. Let's keep grinding and maybe continue to walk down these every single category, right? And there's times we're gonna have to be hard on people that we don't want to be hard on, but need to. Men, if you guys ever heard the phrase "those who can't do teach," I don't know if people know what the origin of that is, but there was a job they wanted to do. That job was unavailable, so they became teachers. All right.
Nasty work.
And a lot of you niggas who are working at Amazon, go ahead and get you a teacher certificate. What? Yeah, because we need y'all in this school. What? They in here teaching hooked on phonics and AAVE and ABCD and some other LGBT. Y'all niggas get the fuck in them schools.
They be tripping.
Yeah. Get in these schools, man. All right. These women. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Be safe and do the right thing, man. Like, share, subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend.
And we out.
We out. Toxic Thursday tomorrow in the Discord.